Okay. I think we can do one more segment. And
One more thing.
Yes. So yes, we have one more thing to talk about.
Hooray!
Yes. So if anyone remembers no one does. I'll just say
No.
we had done a live episode last year where we were going back over the decade. Maybe 2 years ago. We're going back over the decade, and we were taking a game from each of the years to do a game of Saveberry Reboot on. And so kind of the top-selling games of each year, and we asked which one you want to save, which one you want to bury, and which one you want to reboot. You probably need more explanation than that. Okay, that's fine. So, game that you save is a game that works great the way it is. It's good, you like it, and no notes. Basically, it's a no notes kind of game. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to revamp it. You don't have to do a new version of the Star Wars or the Indiana Jones where you go back and CGI stuff in. You can keep it the way it was to begin with. Barry is the game that goes in the desert with ET cartridges and is lost to all time, and you will not feel bad about it. And then the Reboot is a game that had a lot of potential when you played it, and you could see that potential, but needed a complete makeover, and you're hoping that it gets it one day.
Yeah.
What we decided to do for this Saveberry Reboot for the beginning of the year is to look at games, not that necessarily came out in 2021, but games we played in 2021, and choose one of those games to save, to bury, and to reboot. So,
Do you want to do this in that order, or would you like to do it in a different order than save, bury, reboot?
which order would you like to do it in?
Either or. I'm just not sure if you want to do what we want to reboot first, then bury it, and then save for last. So you can be like, oh yeah.
We want to save for last? Okay.
Yeah. If
Okay.
You want to do it that way.
Sure, we can do that.
Because then you get the best for last.
You save the best for
Essentially,
last.
yeah.
Does that mean you
Yeah,
want to
exactly. That's it. Save, bury, reboot. Save the best for last.
save, bury, reboot, and you save the best for last? Okay. Do you want to start with bury then, to start with the worst thing?
Oh, sure. We can do that.
Let's start with the worst and work our way up to the best. That
Do
sounds
you
good.
want to start with Barry?
I'd like to start with Barry, actually. So I was kind of going back and forth with this, and there were definitely ones that came out this year that I was thinking about burying. But I'll eventually be doing like a best to worst of 2021 video, and I can talk about all that there. There is, however, a game that came out a year or two back that I perchance wanted to play, see if it was any good. Happens to be a Souls-like game.
Oh boy.
And after playing it, I was like, yeah, no, please never do this again. I would really prefer you didn't. That game is Mortal Shell, which kind of makes sense that it's called Mortal Shell when we're burying it. So the problem with Mortal Shell is that it kind of takes a lot of the things that a Dark Souls does. You know, it's very stilted combat. You know, it's got the linear pathways that you're going down, and you're trudging along in this like heavy armor. The concept is that you get new shells. You're basically like this, I don't know what, you're like a mannequin with abs, and you inhabit these different shells, and the first one that you get happens to be this knight that has a big old sword. Yeah. And when you're fighting in combat, you then have the, combat abilities of that character.
That shell, as you will.
The shell. And if you take enough damage, you get thrown out of your shell, and you can try to reclaim your shell before you die, because you are now naked and exposed, and you have to get back in your shell. But usually, once you get back in your shell, the enemies are all on you anyway, and then kill you for realsies this time, and you get sent back to whatever checkpoint you were at. It was one of those games that felt like it took the aspects I hated about Dark Souls the most and said, yeah, it's just this. It's just those things. Just the branching pathways, but it feels like there's no good options therein. You drop stuff when you go away. You have to like reclaim your shell, and then just like a lot of places where I was just falling off the edge or something like that, and now I'm just stuck in a bunch of trees. These random places where you'll end up with like a boss monster, and I'm gonna try to run past the boss monster, get whatever's in the chest. Oh, it wasn't that good, and now the boss monster kills me. And if I have to get my stuff back, I have to go and take care of the boss monster again. There's poison frogs that just explode on you. They just look at you and you walk up to them. Hello, little frog friend. Explode in your face.
Yeah, too, if I were that frog.
Yes, exactly. And there were upgrades that you could get in some of those chests, for that matter, where it would, upgrade the basic components of your gear. But they didn't seem to do much in practice. You could add like some poison damage and things, but when you're getting attacked long range from most of these people and you're a melee build, being able to poison them is like, okay, now I guess I'll sneak away. Like at first I thought that there was something to this, and then as I played more and more and realized that the checkpoints are kind of few and far between anyway, and not really even quite knowing what the point of the game was, I was like, you know what, we can probably bury this for all eternity, and I will not feel bad. Now, granted, this might end up being a remnant situation, and in a couple years I'll be going, actually, it's brilliant, but I can tell you, the way I feel right now, Mortal Shell can go to the reservoir where all the...
Can go to the mortal hell.
It can phone home. That's what we're...
It can E.T.
It can fall down that pit that E.T. would fall in the game, and I will not shed a tear. So that was my berry. What do you have, Alex?
Well, I also had a couple I was going to go back and forth on, and one that I wanted to pick, but I haven't played it since 2018, so I can't pick that. But boy, I wish I could. So for me, my berry is a game that falls into the crafting survival genre of games.
Oh, okay.
Because, there's a bajillion of them.
Yeah.
It's a open world survival crafting, magic fantasy, first person. Yeah. Anyways, the game is called Alchemist's Awakening.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've seen this game.
No.
It came out in 2019. I played it this year though. It's kind of like a Minecraft clone type of game. It's not the same graphics as Minecraft. It's not the block. It's not great graphics by any means. But it looked interesting in premise because it's like, oh, you get magic and you can create stuff and you can make spells and stuff. I'm like, okay, this looks interesting, and I bought it, and I even bought Crave a copy of it because it was cheap.
Right.
And so I get into it because I try and play games, and then I'm sitting there, I'm like, alright, you're on this island. And its controls are really weird, and then the monsters are really janky, and the magic is really strange, and then the crafting is really strange, and everything none of it works as well as you want it to, and the controls are just really janky, so it's like, cool, you need this element, you need to like go destroy things in the world to take their elemental properties, I guess, or whatnot, and then you can craft with those. Then trying to place stuff down in the world, the rotation doesn't always work the way you want it to, so you have to fuck around with it a whole lot. And it's just really strange.
Yeah. It doesn't work the way you want it to work.
No, none of it did, and it's like, all right, but there's also no objectives. The tutorial was really bad. It's like, do I have a quest? No. Okay. So I don't really need to do anything. Do I need to eat? No, I don't think I need to eat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I have no. There's no reason to do anything.
Yeah.
Uh,
No.
So it's just like, I kind of see what they're going for.
Sure. Sure.
And like, it looked interesting, but it just did not deliver on any front.
Right. Right.
The other game I was going to debate on putting on that berry list was also an open world survival crafting game.
Oh, yeah?
Because these are games I want to love.
Oh, I getcha. I usually see, like, open world survival crafting game, and I think to myself, cool, I want that.
Yeah, it's like, I want to do the things that you guys say that you're doing.
Yeah.
But you're not delivering on any of the fronts I want you to.
No. No.
So many of them fall short. Actually, there was a third game too, which was also a open world survival game that I was contemplating. So all three of the games I would bury or wanted to put on this bury list were open world survival. The other one, I'm going to mention one of them.
Sure.
The other one was Eco.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which I played a bit about. It visually it's nice. It's Minecraft-esque in style, which it's fine. I have no problem with that. It looks visually appealing. But the problem I have with it is that it's super, super granular.
Yeah.
And it's got such a level of granularity in the crafting mechanics that it's like, I do not want to build a house brick by brick. I mean, it's not brick by brick itself, but
Right, but it's like you have to collect certain number of bricks, or you have to build the bricks
kinda,
to the...
It's you have to place each individual part of the house, and then if you get the rotation wrong on it,
you're screwed.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Games like Minecraft. Minecraft obviously has been around for like a decade now. That one's really simple.
Yeah.
But it makes it accessible.
Mm.
It's like you can make things in Minecraft that look amazing.
Oh, yeah. You certainly can.
People have made full-scale replicas of cities or, full-functioning video calling devices. They've ordered pizza through Minecraft.
Oh, sure.
Video.
Yeah.
Calling people, you can remake all of Pokemon in Minecraft.
Yeah, I know.
But when you have a game that's like, yeah, we're going to be granular to the point of excessiveness, and then like, oh yeah, well, you just chopped down a tree. And if you're going to do this yourself, you need to make several trips back and forth from that one down tree to carry all of that wood back. And it's like, I get it. I adore the idea here. But I do not want to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, if it was a game that I played this year, which it wasn't, it was a couple of years back, there was one, I don't know if you ever tried Conan Exiles.
No.
But that also has very much the, I need to, like, spend an inordinate amount of time collecting these resources so I can build a thatched roof. Like, it's just kind of ridiculous. And ironically, though, there was one actually this year, I'll talk about it on my best of list, that's kind of like an open world survival game that I can't tell you is like brilliant, but is also kind of addictive to play. Because they kind of hit the sweet spot of not making it too in the weeds, but like constantly giving you stuff to do.
The one reason that Eco is not my berry, or like the bottom tier of this barrel, is because it is designed to be played with multiple people. And like it functions best when played with multiple people, but unless you're playing with a bunch of people, I don't see it as a contender. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I had some other berries that I was thinking about, some that were ones that came out this year that were just like, nope, just not happening. But like, I did contemplate like putting the Avengers as this one, because I mean I played it for a good amount of time, but at the end of the day, if it didn't exist, I don't think anyone would lose sleep over it. Like really, just because it's basically, well, you could always just play Destiny. Like you could pretty much just play Destiny or third person Destiny, so Outriders. There's like a game for everything, every single one of it. But I realized that at the end of the day, I didn't feel as strongly about that one. So, but I guess we can talk about reboots.
Yes, let's reboot.
Bing. I gotta insert
like
the little.
Podcast is done.
Yeah, yeah. Total Pebble or Knockdown. That's what we should have called it. Anyway, I also had a couple of ideas for reboots from a couple of games that I was playing, some older games. But the one that I realized was probably the more pertinent one was actually Stalker: Shadows of Chernobyl. Now, the reason why I say reboot that, and we are actually going to be getting a sequel that looks terrific, but I'm talking about literally rebooting the original game, is I think the modern graphics and the modern user interfaces that they could do for this and the improvements would help the game itself, the original game, far, far more than just a sequel will. The thing that it did very interestingly is kind of create this world where it's kind of a survival game, a lot of shooting that's involved, very much a shooter, but kind of like in an open world. Just kind of going around and completing these missions, but the fact is that the user interface and your inventory screens, it looks very dated. It feels very dated when you're playing it. But that doesn't mean that it didn't have some really great concepts. There are like literally these areas that are just radioactive pockets, like dimensional pockets almost, that you don't want to step in, and you can actually like test with these little like lug nuts that you keep on you. You can test them to see where the fields are. You would go to these abandoned factories, but they're overrun by raiders, and now you're in a firefight in a side mission with some other characters. There are areas that you can't get to immediately because there's just like electric storms or, fallen wires, stuff like that. There's a lot of good ideas there, and a lot of interesting ways that you could play it or adapt to different situations or get around them. And I liked the concept. I liked the world that they were building, and what they're doing with the sequel does look very, very impressive. But literally, I would like to see them take the hardware essentially they're using for Stalker 2 and do a new version of the original Stalker, because I think it would be way easier to play and more intuitive if they did that. And it's still a worthwhile game and a storyline that you could get around a lot easier if they rebooted it. So there's that. What was your pick for a reboot?
So for me, it's more of a soft reboot, I want to say, because I enjoy the core, and I think most of the game is fine. But for me, I am actually choosing one that came out earlier this year.
Oh, okay.
Which is New World.
New World. Okay, interesting. I have not gotten a chance to play it, but I know you and a few other people were. So
the core of it is fun. It is a fun, engaging game.
Mm-hmm.
The crafting mechanics and a lot of the game systems are well done. The biggest issue is their focus.
Sure.
Where you've got really in-depth crafting and town mechanics where you can build up the towns and you can control the towns and run the towns.
Sure.
And all of that. But then you've also got large-scale factional conflicts between 3 factions.
Mm.
So they kind of mix the hardcore PvP aspect of the game with a super casual aspect that makes it so this middle ground doesn't really function well. And either you need to have dedicated PvP servers or not, but then the biggest thing there is the factional wars between the different factions for controls over the territories and towns and the forts. So it's really a PvP driven game. Except that makes it really unbalanced for people playing on the other factions, because it's suddenly, if you own all these territories, it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to switch to that faction because now I get my discounts and all the things in that faction.
Sure.
For instance. So
Yeah.
they really didn't have a solid focus, I think, on that.
Yeah.
And then one of the things is all the towns had different banks, and they had different auction houses on each of them, which they now linked them because honestly they were dumb.
Yeah.
But like, they have all these MMOs over the years that have failed or done well, and they haven't learned the lessons from them.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna build an MMO and make it free to play, that's fine. I'm great model, cosmetics and loot boxes, whatever, I don't care. For people who want to buy this, that's fine. I don't care about their monetary decision. But they went from having a huge launch to, I think someone, I was listening to someone the other day saying they've lost about 90% of their player base.
Oh.
Since launch.
It's never good.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And they've had to already crunch some of their servers together because there's just not enough people playing on disparate servers for them to even... Again, the factional conflicts is a huge part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think in some servers, and in the one I am playing on, or did play on, I'm not playing as much, but like, mine was pretty evenly split up between the three factions.
Yeah.
And they were doing well, and I logged in the other day, and it was like, all right, now my faction is no longer controls any territories on this because they've crunched it and it's different players, and now it's the other two factions, and it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Great.
That's great. I like to have a big old housing system too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Did I die?
Shortly. You're back.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're back.
You're back.
You froze for a second. Anyways,
You froze for a second too. No, you.
One of the things is that, like, player housing, you can buy a house, but then you get taxed on it.
Oh.
Which is, again, fine, but make it like monthly
Yeah.
or bi-weekly. Don't make it an every week thing,
Sure.
because all that does is encourage people who aren't gonna only play casually to not buy houses at all,
Right.
and people who are playing all the time are not gonna care.
Right.
But then, like, the other thing too is there's not any NPC vendors.
Oh, okay.
So instead of having vendors you can buy and sell items to, it's all the market. So it becomes the entire economy is based on the supply and demand of players.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So gold becomes essentially useless unless you're buying items on the auction house in the market.
Right. Okay.
If you're not buying anything on it, the only thing to spend money on is your house.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of interesting ideas, but not necessarily executed to the best of their ability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's soft reboot because the game, again, the core systems and the gameplay loops and everything, they do feel nice. It plays well. I enjoy the combat. That's all fine. But definitely needs some tweaks and a refocusing on what they think is what the players want. And what the players are going to do, and then rebalancing that to make it so it's more accessible and will keep players playing for longer than the last 4 months.
Right. I think all those players that jumped off of New World apparently went to play Final Fantasy XIV.
Maybe.
Had you heard the story about Final Fantasy XIV? Because they just put out the new Endwalker or whatever the expansion was.
Yeah.
They had to stop selling it in stores because their servers were so overrun that they couldn't take on more players. So they were like, and the people that weren't even able to get into the servers, they were like, well, we'll offer you some free months. We're sorry, but we literally can't hold anybody more.
Yeah, it's like, can you please hold? We need to
Please
get more
hold.
servers.
We didn't know it was going to be this big a deal. We literally have to stop selling the game. We can't sell any more games. We have to put a hiatus on it. Yeah.
Yeah. For the reference, I did just look at concurrent WoW players for 2021. And October was 5.9 million. September was 6.5, August was 6.7, and last 30 days is an average of 6 million concurrent players monthly.
Yeah, a lot of money.
So that's people paying for subscriptions in a game that's been out for a while. And as much as we again have not discussed how much hot water Blizzard is in and how much we are dissatisfied with Blizzard, I mentioned to Ray the other day, it's like one of the reasons I constantly go back to play World of Warcraft is because there's enough content there and it's done in such a decent manner that I can play and always find something I want to do.
Right. Yeah, Blizzard, if you want to go into either business practices, their the way that they work with their fan bases, or
treat people,
or treat literally their fans, their staff, their really pretty much everybody, or just how they decide to do products launches anymore, or like what they do to support their games, or really any aspects. Hey, you know what? Bobby Kotick got his whatever $100 million whatever thing. So
he's gone, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I think he's still gonna get his money.
I mean, severances for CEOs and those always.
Oh yeah, it's gonna.
They always get their money, but
it's gonna
get the fuck out of the company, please.
Yeah, I know, but.
Anyways.
But anyway.
That's for a different soapbox.
Different soapbox. We're not even doing the soapbox segment right now. But okay, so New World though. It needs a little bit of a soft reboot.
If it sounds deep sale and you want to get it to try it, you might enjoy it.
Trying it, yeah.
It's worth trying. And you don't pay monthly, so I mean, that's the big thing there.
Yeah. The other one that I was thinking about mentioning for Reboot, but it's not as much of a major one, was Elix, which is actually getting an Elix 2. They are going to be, Piranha Bytes is making an Elix 2, so it's kind of getting that. But again, really interesting concept of like a near futuristic, almost like a fantasy cyber world, open world, epic RPG kind of thing that they were doing.
Sure.
But needed better controls and needed a richer, more interesting storyline and characters and stuff, and could have used a little bit more polish on top of that. But I thought Stalker would be the more major change for me. Okay, so now we actually end on a high note. We get to talk about what we're saving. I actually played a lot of really good games. This is not even necessarily my favorite game of the year, but it is a game that came out this year, and the reason why I picked it for my save is because this is, again, a no notes. They really don't have to touch it. I think what it is perfect the way it is, and they don't have to do anything to it.
Right.
No
I'm gonna laugh if this goes along with the one I picked.
Okay. No, it's not, because I know you haven't picked this. I don't think you've played this at all. It's The Ascent.
Oh no, I think it might be on my wish list though.
Yeah. So the reason The Ascent is not necessarily, when I get to my games of 2021, I think it's maybe third or fourth down the list in terms of my favorite games. But the thing about it is that I don't feel like The Ascent really needs to touch anything that it did. When Neon Giant, it's like their first game, came out with this as a concept, I think that the concept is just good on its face, and what it does as a twin-stick shooter is probably the best version of a twin-stick shooter that you're going to get. It has very nice RPG elements. The world, I'm very, very impressed with the way they built this world. The number of assets on screen at any time, especially when you get into the cities, like these giant, massive, like cyberpunk conglomerate cities that are just vast with like just multiple levels and so many people just doing things all over the place. It's really, really impressive, the vistas that they give you, and just the general idea of going from literally ascending up this very Blade Runner-esque kind of world that they're going for. I can't tell you that it's necessarily the greatest game of all time, but what it does, trying to be a twin-stick shooter with those RPG elements and adding in new things and going to other places and doing all of that, it's the best version of it that you will ever have, and there's no reason they would ever have to touch or refine it from what it was when it originally came out. So, very impressed with the Ascent. If you like twin-stick shooters, or if you like action games, because it does have a little bit of like almost Diablo style, sort of like that, but with guns. Sort of atmosphere. I think it does a lot really well, and I'm very impressed. I know that they were industry veterans when they started the game, but as a new studio, Neon Giant really made the game that they wanted. They said that this was like, we have the freedom to kind of like do whatever we want. This is what we want to do. And they did it to the best version out of the gate that I could have asked for. So I am choosing to save the Ascent. And now I'm very curious as to what you're saving.
Well, so my game didn't come out this year. It came out in 2017, but I didn't play it till this year.
Oh, okay. Cool.
The game I wanted to save obviously doesn't need any. It's not going to be touched because it's been out for several years.
Right.
It happened to be Nier Automata.
Automata? I think I don't know.
Automata, whatever. It's Nier.
Yes.
Because I hadn't played that till this year because I just hadn't been interested in it. And then I was like, maybe it's on sale. I think I got it. And it's like,
oh, yeah.
You know, I think we had talked about it before. And you're like, oh, no, it's so good.
It's really good, yeah. It's so good.
I haven't played all the way through, like, 9S's story. So, like, I haven't fully finished all the arcs in it. I know there's
more. Yeah.
1A or whatever. A1. Steak sauce.
Yeah, A2.
After
A2.
A2.
A2, yeah.
A2. I've listened to things, so I know a lot of what's going to happen coming up. And it's still, spoilers don't spoil things for me. It's like I can still experience it and get the feels for me,
Sure.
But overall, as a gaming experience, from the environmental details to the music, and how it's portrayed, both the scores and how it's the diegetic and it's part of the game but part of not, like, part of the UI too.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. The combat is just amazing, fluid.
So good.
Just the story plays out really well. All the plot threads going through there, just obviously it's reviewed highly on everything, I assume.
Oh yeah.
It's a very positive 70,000 reviews.
It was pretty beloved when it came out, which is interesting because, like, there was an original Nier game that I actually had played that is a little bit different from this, and it was one of those hidden gems that most people missed when it originally came out. And so when I would see different things in Nier Automata that reminded me of that first game, I'm like, oh, a lot of people are probably experiencing this for the first time. But I did very much love the fact that there's so many things in that game that feel like real interesting philosophical conversations about humanity while you're talking about basically automatons and robots discussing humanity, and it's so well done how they do that story. But
and then obviously spoilers for a several-year-old game now. Like, I was like guessing throughout the whole thing that humanity was dead the whole time, because I was like, oh, it's a recording, obviously they're probably fucking dead up there. They're not alive anymore. And then you find out that, yeah, the humans died a long time ago, but, you know, we're just trying to not let the androids go insane, essentially.
Right. We're basically, we're fighting this giant war for people that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, and then the aliens are also dead. I'm like, all right, didn't actually see that one coming. I mean, I think... So it's basically the robots are just, like, gaining sentience, and it's like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
So, like, even without the philosophical stuff, because, you know, I hit or miss for me, I cannot care about it as much. It's not as important to me as the gameplay, typically. But, like, the gameplay is just great, because it's, like, you will question a lot of times what you're doing.
Yeah.
Especially with the internal monologues of, like, 9S and then 2B. And obviously later on it comes out to light that exactly what 2B's purpose is with 9S anyways. So it's like, oh, that's actually more heartbreaking now.
Oh yeah, and the thing is that you haven't gotten to those points, I'm pretty sure, but there are moments by the time you get to like the D story or like the E story by the end, where there are moments where you're like, whoa, okay. I'm trying to think, was it Pascal, whoever the little robot is that you help out with his village? There's a later moment in the game with him where it's just like, oh god, I don't even know what to do with all of that, or what this even means. But the fact is that, yeah, that's an excellent one. I'm kind of
later on when he begs you to kill him.
Okay, you've gotten to that point. Okay.
Either I have or heard about it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a hard one. That is a hard one. It does make me really... I have not played Replicant yet.
Right.
I definitely will pick it up at some point to play it. I'm just very impressed with... The whole thing, really, just as an overall package, they did such a great job with Automata. Just from... In each aspect. How they present.
Well, that is why Nier Automata is my save.
Excellent.
I figured you'd be impressed and happy with that one.
Yeah, I am happy to hear about that.
There are a bunch of other games that I would obviously love to save, like Curse of the Dead Gods and so many other games. But yeah, I was like, no, I'll pick this.
Oh yeah. Nier Automata was really good. There's probably other ones that I would say. Well, my favorite games for the year that came out this year, but there's a lot of really good ones. I think if it comes on Epic, because I know we're recording this from the past. You're hearing this from the past, but there should be a game, I think, coming out tomorrow or the next day for the Epic free game, which is going to be Prey. And since it's free, I would suggest popping it in your library anyway. Pathfinder and Kingmaker, I think, comes out tomorrow.
I already have Kingmaker.
Okay.
I got that. I think I backed it on Kickstarter.
Oh, okay. Vampire, I did pick up today, just because...
Yep, just grab that too.
I have played it, and I think, depending on your sensibilities, you'll like it. But it does depend on how you... But Prey, when that releases in a day or two, you might as well just pop that into your inventory, because it was my favorite game in 2017, even though Nier Automata was out there. So
I'll be sure I grab it if it pops up then.
Although I hadn't played Automata at that point, so it probably would have been my favorite game had I played it at that time. But at the time, I went over those games. But yeah, no, Prey is pretty impressive. Arcane usually does a really good job, almost all the time. I heard mixed things about Deathloop, but anyway. But that's neither here nor there. I didn't play Deathloop, so I can't put it on my Save Berry Reboot scale here. Yeah, so that's good. I'm just glad that there were games worth saving at all that I played this year. That's really all I care about.
Right.
That's all I care about. So I'm now curious about all of you. If you are out there and want to play a little game of that too, think back on the games that you played from 2021 and let me know what your pick would be to save, bury, and reboot and the reasons why. You can catch us over on our Discord channel, or you can even leave a voice clip for us over on our Anchor page. Feel free to do that.